Michael had always felt a quiet itch beneath his skin, a low, persistent hum that life in the city couldn't quite scratch. Every horn blast, every blinking billboard, every overheard phone call chipped away at him until he felt like a ghost drifting through someone else's dream. So on a brisk October morning, he packed a single rucksack with supplies, locked the door to his apartment, and left everything behind. He didn't leave a note. He didn't tell anyone where he was going. He just went. The forest he'd chosen sprawled across the northern tip of Maine, a swath of wilderness dense enough to swallow sound and stretch so far you could walk for days and see no one. Michael wasn't experienced in backcountry camping, but he'd done his research. He had maps, he had food. He had a fire starter, a knife, and the delusion that being alone would fix the ache inside him. By the time the sun dropped below the tree line that first night, he'd pitched his small tent beside a shallow stream and eaten a protein bar in silence. The sounds of the city had been replaced by the rustle of wind through dead leaves and the occasional distant owl. He fell asleep easily, soothed by the dark. A few relaxing days in the woods really helped him de-stress. Alone with his own thoughts, he felt free. On the third day, Michael noticed something strange. About a mile from his camp, he found footprints in the soft earth beside the stream, bare footprints. No boot tread, no sock fuzz, just human feet. Small, too small for him. He followed them for a few yards before they vanished into underbrush. It unsettled him, but he rationalized. Maybe another hiker had passed through. Maybe a child was with a family and wandered off briefly. Odd but not impossible. That night the forest felt different. The trees seemed to crowd in closer, the wind colder, the dark thicker. He built his fire higher and double-checked his knife just in case. He told himself he wasn't afraid. But when a twig snapped near his tent around midnight, he held his breath for what felt like hours. Nothing came. For the first time since entering the woods, Michael didn't sleep a wink. The next day was pretty normal, a little warmer than the day before. The next night, however, it started with voices. At first, just murmurs in the wind, so soft he dismissed them. But then one night, he heard a word. Michael. He froze, sitting up in his sleeping bag. The fire had burned down to embers. The woods were silent. Michael. It came again from just beyond the firelight. He grabbed his flashlight and swept it through the trees. Nothing, only the swaying silhouettes of branches and the glitter of dew. He didn't sleep that night. The next morning, he hiked deeper. He told himself he was trying to find a better spot, but really, he was running from something he couldn't name. The air grew colder. His compass began acting strangely. Not like the spinning in circles you see in the movies. A gradual, almost unnoticeable movement a few degrees off where it should be. He knew he was heading north through the woods because the sun was starting to set on his left. But the compass showed southwest. He tried to keep calm. He marked his trail. He sang to himself. He decided this was a good place to set up camp for the night. He thought to himself, I traveled a good distance today. Nothing should bother me here. But the whispering returned the next night, and this time, it didn't say his name. It just laughed. The days of hiking and setting up camp dragged on. Michael began to notice inconsistencies. A carved tree he'd passed earlier now bore no marks. A rock formation he'd used to orient himself appeared twisted, the angles unnatural. Even the sun seemed slower, the days stretching long and eerie. He tried retracing his steps, but every time he returned to his marked trees, the carvings were wrong, mirrored, or missing altogether. It was as if the forest was shifting around him. One morning he woke to find his gear rearranged. His pack was open, food wrappers scattered. His knife missing. He stood in the clearing, turning in circles, screaming into the trees. No answer, not even the birds sang. He saw it on the sixth night, a figure, tall and still, just beyond the firelight. No face, just a shape among shapes, unmoving. Watching, he didn't approach, he didn't blink. Eventually, it faded into the trees, as though it had never been there at all. But Michael felt it now, always just behind him, just out of sight. When he turned, nothing, but he knew it was real. He stopped lighting fires, he stopped sleeping. His rations dwindled, but he couldn't hunt. The idea of killing anything in that forest made his stomach turn. He started to hear the laughter in the daytime, see flashes of movement and reflections on the stream. Sometimes he thought he saw himself. Only the other Michael was smiling. Michael no longer knew how long he'd been in the forest. Time didn't move normally anymore. Days bled into each other. His watch stopped. He marked trees now not to find his way, but to remind himself he was real. He carved a journal into bark. He watches. I saw myself today, I didn't blink. The trees whisper now. I think they lie. Don't follow the stream. He was filthy, starved, and paranoid. His hands bled from carving, his eyes sunken and wild. He stopped calling for help. There was no help. Only the forest, only himself. On a gray morning, Michael stumbled upon a mirror nailed to a tree. It shouldn't have been there. Nothing man-made had appeared for weeks. But there it was, a plain rectangular mirror, warped and smudged. He looked into it and screamed. The reflection wasn't him. It looked like him. Same clothes, same sunken face. But its eyes smiled. Its mouth moved, though he made no sound. It mouthed, "Stay." He ran. He didn't stop until his legs gave out. When he awoke, it was dark again, and the mirror was beside him. Michael gave up. He stopped trying to leave. He built no more fires, rationed no more food. He sat in the cold and listened. The forest whispered. The other Michael came often now. Sometimes in mirrors, sometimes in dreams. Sometimes standing inches behind him. He spoke now, too. "You're not real," he would say to Michael. "You never left the city. You died here in your mind." And maybe that was true. Because when the other Michael reached out, Michael didn't flinch. He reached back. Weeks later, hikers found an abandoned campsite deep in the forest. No sign of a person. Just a collapsed tent, moldy rations, and carved warnings in the trees. Don't listen. Don't look in the mirrors. Don't answer when it calls. In the dirt was a single footprint. Bare. Too small for a man, and just beside it, a mirror, cracked, with a handprint smeared across the glass. Some say the forest was never haunted. That Michael went mad, lost in the trees. But others believe he was taken. Swallowed by the reflection of himself he refused to face. Either way, he was never seen again. And if you listen closely, when the wind shifts through the trees, you might hear it. Laughter, or worse, your own name.